Chas from Chas's Crazy Creations. Welcome to Home Talk. Today I'm going to be turning 3 terracotta pots into a bunny for springtime that will also be a planter. Let's get started. In the comments, I'd love to know where you're watching from. I'm in Colorado, so I love to read where everybody's viewing from. To start this project, you are going to need 3 terracotta pots that are the same size. This one is 10 inches, and you can use, again, any size you want. You just want 3 of the same size. I'm also going to start this project with Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color white. You're just going to start by painting the entire surface of the terracotta pots with the white chalk paint. And you can use other paints if you like. I just like chalk paint because terracotta pots absorb a lot of paint. And sometimes you need a primer or something because they won't just go on. My first experience with terracotta pots was I tried to spray paint them, and I think it took me 2 bottles of spray paint before I realized this is not gonna work. So since then I've switched to chalk paint. What is your favorite paint to use when you do projects? Is there a kind or a brand? What are you a big fan of? Drop that in the comments, please. You're just gonna continue painting this all the way around. I found that it needs about 2 coats of paint, and you can let it dry between each coat, but pretty easy. Now I've gone ahead and flipped this one over, and I'm gonna finish doing the rim here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do this top edge up here. When spring comes in your house, what is your favorite thing that you look forward to in the spring? Is it planting? Is it enjoying just the sunshine and being outside? What is it that you enjoy in the springtime? Drop that in the comments. I love to read what everybody likes to do in the spring, as well as maybe if you're tuning in now, I'd love to know where you're watching from. All right, let's go ahead and let that dry. Here are the 3 terracotta pots, all painted and dried. I did the top lip on 2 of them, and the third one here, I did the inside rim just a little bit, because that's going to be the top of the bunny. Now what we're going to do is put these terracotta pots into the bunny shape, and we're going to be using silicone. I like to use waterproof depending upon where I'm putting my terracotta pots, and I like to use clear. You can use an adhesive of your choice. Your first pot is going to be upright like this, and you're just gonna go ahead and put a layer of silicone all the way around the edge. And again, this is to create the bunny shape. Okay, again, silicone is all the way around the edge. Now I'm gonna take the next pot upside down and place it onto the first pot, just like that. And if you're at all concerned, just go all the way around, make sure that your edges are all lined up. Sometimes pots are not created equally. You can also go around and silicone the edge so it gives it a nice smooth surface and rub it like you would use silicone in your house. All right, let's go on to the next layer. Okay, for this top layer, we're just gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna go all the way around with the silicone and get a nice solid edge, because we want it to have good contact so it adheres nicely. Okay, and now we place that top layer on like that. And you just, again, make sure the edges, you can fill this in with silicone if you want, but the edges are all nice and even. Now we let this dry, and so it's nice and solid before we move on. Now that he's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and add some Mod Podge that has, it's sparkle Mod Podge, and it'll just give him a nice seal, and it will also add a little sparkly glitter to him. It's really easy to put on. Mod Podge, for those of you who don't know, Mod Podge is water-based, and it goes on white and then dries clear. And you could make it as glittery or not. You could skip this step if you didn't want to do this step. And I just want to get in close here just so you can see that little bit of sparkle glitter that the Mod Podge added. Nice and iridescent, great for spring. Now as it dries, we're gonna move up to his face here, and I have penciled in a face for him, and now we're gonna go ahead and color that in. And you can use paint if you want, but I'm just gonna use a couple of Sharpies. I feel like I have just a little better control over that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use those permanent markers to draw in the bunny's face. Just to show you though, you can easily use, if you're more interested in using paint, you can easily go ahead and use a chalk paint or an acrylic paint and then make the face that way. I might be switching to the paint this round because the markers were giving me a little grief on the Mod Podge. That could be because I didn't have it completely dry, but sometimes that happens. So go ahead and paint the nose, and then I'll go ahead and do the rest of the face. And here's his completed face. I used both a combination of permanent markers and acrylic paint for this. Now we're going to talk about decorating with the ears and maybe some of the body. Now you could paint on the body, but one option is, if you're going to be sticking him outside, would be to go buy something like this at the dollar store, cut off the ears, and then attach them on top here. And you could buy another piece like this and attach it for the body. So you would have an appearance something like this. And then this is good for outside. But if you're looking for something else, another option that you could use would be to use something with more of a furry look. So, you know, putting your ears on like this. This is just a headband from the dollar store, and adhering, you know, your more fabric-oriented pieces to your bunny, or again, opt for just painting. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the furry for today, but know that you can switch and use the other ones if you'd rather do that. Okay, we're gonna start by hot gluing his chest on. So I'm gonna put a little dab of hot glue in here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and press the collar part up, just like that. Okay, there he is, all hot glued. Which one would you do? Would you use the furry, or would you use the more weather outdoor friendly one for your bunny? I'd love to know. Drop that in the comments, please. Okay, before I move up to his head, I want to turn him around because we're going to do something optional here. So on the back side of him, depending upon where you're going to put him, we're going to add a little tail. Now sometimes I can find little balls that are intentionally like tails like this at the store, but this one is actually a stuffed animal that I rotated and made him into a tail. I didn't want to decapitate a stuffed bunny on the show, so I did it in advance. And then once it's dry, and again, you could use any adhesive you want to for some of this. It just depends upon where you're going to put it, because hot glue sometimes will fall off with a hot-cold fluctuation in temperature, but if you're going to leave him inside, he'll be better. He'll be just fine with hot glue. Okay, rotating him back front. Now we're going to add the ears, and you could cut off the top, cut each of these ears off if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue them in like this. Again, you can use any adhesive you like, so I'm just going to go ahead and add a little hot glue to him. And again, it kind of depends upon what you're going to do with him when you're done with him. You know, if you're going to be putting some sort of live plant in here or what. And I'm going to give you a few options on that as well. So let's wait for that to dry. And pretty much he's done. And we can talk about a few extra things you can do with him besides what's going to go in here. So, okay, let's talk about some embellishments in case you're interested. So sometimes we don't like the seam that's left behind. So one option would be to get some white ribbon or something like that, and then you can, you know, go around and cover those seams up. Another option would be to create a bow, which I think I'm going to do, and just adhere that, so then that covers up some of the seams if you don't like that as well. So let me go ahead and hot glue on his bow tie, and then we'll talk about the top. So if you're not a fan of planting, you can always opt for a hat instead. Some of you might remember this from my scarecrow last fall. And you could put the hat on and then glue the ears onto the hat, so then you can just have a bonnet of sorts onto your terracotta bunny instead. But let's talk about some other choices. So the other thing that you could put in the top would be planted tulips or daffodils or summer plant, and then you have this beautiful bouquet coming out the top of him, and you can water it. It's a terracotta plant, it'll be fine. So that would be another choice. Right now it's still winter time, so I'm going to opt for some fake flowers. And one of the things I like to do is just go to the store and find some flowers that I like. Now sometimes, because they are all the same, they can look like fake flowers. So I tend to buy a few that I like, and then I will pull them all off. So like, here's some examples. I had maybe bought about some daffodils and some hydrogenas and some lilacs, and then I pulled off the tops and then mixed and matched. So then I created my own bouquets to put together to go in here until I can put a real flower plant or whatever into the top of him. Again, because it's kind of cold here in Colorado, so we can't necessarily put anything in here. If he was inside, then yes, I could put a plant in him. If he's gonna go on my porch like I anticipate I'll put him, then it's not the right time to put a real plant in him. So let's go ahead and put some of these in there for now. So here's an example of how you see the bunny ears inside. And again, you could cut those off, but we're just gonna go ahead and lay these flowers inside and give them a little fluff, and then we'll see how it looks. And here is our flower pot bunny all ready for spring. I'd love it if you'd follow me on Home Talk TV, and you can always check out my crazy creations on both my blog and my YouTube channel at Chas's Crazy Creations. Thank you, Home Talk, so much for having me, and thank you to all of you for being here. I'll see you next time.